So today, we're going to put together a little survival guide. But this isn't for surviving in the wild. It's for surviving a justice system so completely bizarre, it makes our modern courtrooms look like models of perfect logic. We're talking about a time when your pig, your dog, or even the rat scurrying in your walls could be arrested, put on trial, and yes, executed. If an animal wanted to make it out of alive, it had to know the rules.
Let's start with a simple scenario. Imagine your neighbor's dog runs out and bites you. It's not great, for sure, but you know what to do, right? You talk to the owner, maybe you'd sue for damages. It's a pretty straightforward, common-sense process.
Well, if you were living in the Middle Ages, you could just throw all that common sense right out the window. They wouldn't blame the owner. Oh no, they would prosecute the animal itself. I mean, a full-blown criminal trial, complete with an arrest, jail time, lawyers, and an official sentence handed down by a judge. So yeah, if you were an animal back then, you had to learn the rules of the game.
And lesson number 1, the most important lesson, is actually pretty simple. Do not, under any circumstances, harm a human being. Because if you did, you just might end up like the most infamous defendant in the entire history of animal court.
Okay, let's travel back to Falaise, France, in the year 1386. A local pig did something truly awful. It attacked and killed an infant. Now, this was a terrible tragedy, but instead of just, putting the animal down, the town decided to give it a proper day in court.
And believe me, this was no quick, informal hearing. The pig was formally arrested and put in jail right alongside human prisoners. Then, for the trial, they actually dressed it in human clothes, a waistcoat and breeches, and brought it before a judge. After all the proceedings, the court came to a verdict. The pig was guilty of premeditated murder and was sentenced to be publicly hanged.
But wait, it gets even weirder. The authorities didn't just stop there. In a move that really tells you everything about how they thought, they rounded up other pigs from the area and forced them to watch the execution. The thinking was that this would serve as an example, to teach the other pigs a lesson in law and morality. It's just a mind-blowing look into a world where they believed animals had free will and could understand human justice.
So lesson 1 is pretty clear, but what if you were accused of something non-violent, like, say, property damage? Well, that brings us to our second rule for survival. You better get yourself a very, very clever lawyer.
Jump forward to the 16th century. The French town of Autun had a huge problem. A whole colony of rats was eating their barley crops. So the townspeople did the most logical thing they could think of. They sued the rats. And you know what? The court actually appointed a brilliant young lawyer named Bartholomew Chassaineuz to represent them.
On the first day of the trial, surprise, surprise, not a single rat showed up. The prosecution immediately asked for a win by default, but Chassaineuz stood up and made his first brilliant move. He argued the summons wasn't valid. His clients, he said, were scattered all over the countryside, and just one notice simply wasn't enough to reach all of them. And the court agreed. They ordered priests in the surrounding area to announce the summons from their pulpits.
So the next court date rolls around, and again, no rats. This time, Chassaineuz pulled off his masterpiece. He told the judge that his clients, the rats, desperately wanted to be there, but they couldn't make it. And why not? Because, he explained, the town's cats posed a mortal threat to them on their journey to the courthouse. He argued that under the law, anyone could refuse a summons if their life was in danger.
And the court was completely stumped. He was right. They couldn't argue with the logic. Since there was no way to guarantee the rats' safety from all the local cats, the case was postponed indefinitely. The rats never saw the inside of a courtroom, and Bartholomew Chassaineuz basically became a legal legend.
Okay, so our first 2 lessons covered crimes against people and property. But this last lesson, this one is maybe the strangest of all. It's about not committing a crime against God and the natural order itself. The lesson was simple. Whatever you do, you have to act naturally. Let's go to Basel, Switzerland in 1474. A rooster did something deeply, deeply unnatural. It laid an egg. To the people of the town, this wasn't just some weird biological fluke. This was evidence of something evil, a twisting of the world as God intended it.
See, their terror was rooted in the legend of the basilisk, a mythical serpent king. The story went that a basilisk hatched from a rooster's egg, but only if it was incubated by a toad. And this creature was so powerful that its breath was poison and it could kill you with a single glance. So to them, this egg wasn't just an oddity, it was a potential weapon of mass destruction.
So of course, the rooster was put on trial. Its lawyer argued, pretty reasonably, that laying an egg is an involuntary act and the animal couldn't possibly have had any malicious intent.
But the prosecution's charge was way more serious. They claimed the rooster was a sorcerer, in league with the devil himself.
And the court sided with the prosecution. The rooster was found guilty of committing an unnatural act with Satan's help. It was sentenced to be burned at the stake, a punishment normally reserved for heretics and witches, and its unholy egg was destroyed right along with it. So after hearing all these cases, you have to ask, the real question isn't whether the pig or the rats or the rooster were guilty. The real question is, why? Why did they even do this? What was the point of these incredibly elaborate and to us totally absurd trials?
Well, when you get down to it, these trials were really a desperate attempt to force human order onto a chaotic and often brutal world. In the medieval mind, everything, humans and animals alike, existed under God's law. So when an animal committed a crime, it wasn't just a random act. It was a disruption of the cosmic balance. Holding a trial wasn't just about punishment, it was a ritual to restore that balance and prove that humanity was still in control of a world they barely understood. It all seems so bizarre to us now, but it leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. These trials show a deep, deep human need to find reason and accountability, even in places where there isn't any. So, when we look back at a legal system that prosecuted animals just for being animals, it really makes you wonder, how have our own ideas of justice, responsibility, and nature changed since then?